Finally, in the year 2025, you're allowed to sprint right on into the Oblivion Remaster. Along with some quality of life changes, you also get Unreal Engine 5 fidelity. Also, the Rising Tide contest from Blue Ocean is here to lift all indie creators' boats.
Hi, I'm Josh, and if I get remastered, it can only be in 1080p.
I'm Andy. This is Video Game Tango.
All right, we are back, and with news.
Yeah,
sort of. I mean,
stuff to talk about.
Yeah, stuff to talk about. It's not like it was. I mean, if it was a secret, it was a poorly kept secret. But it did release the Oblivion remaster. Of course, is what we're talking about. It's been talked about, brouhahaed about for a couple of years, but it released yesterday. Guys, released yesterday. So by the time you're listening to this, if you're not listening live, which I mean, if you're not, you're missing out. You really should be. But if you're not, it's already been out for like half a week. So, you know,
it's been a couple days.
Get on it. What's new with the game, right? Is it just a reskin? No, sir. It is a from the ground up honestly, I feel like we kind of talked about this already. I feel like it's more fair to call it a remake rather than a remaster. So Oblivion has been meticulously recreated. Everything from characters and weapons all the way down to rocks and cheese. Everything, if you can see it, it's been remastered.
Don't worry, guys. We remastered the cheese.
Thank God. And the sweet rolls. I mean, that's worth fighting over. Everybody knows that.
Look at these high-res cabbages.
Look at these my cabbages. So besides just a nice little visual upgrade, everything is in Unreal Engine 5. So instead of Bethesda face, the faces are actually expression. They have some expression.
Yeah.
But it's not just a fancy new suit that it's coming on. There is refined gameplay. In the modern day, in an RPG, you expect to sprint. People run in 2025. People fucking run.
That's
God
true.
damn it. We're fast as fuck, boy. And now you can be fast as fuck in Oblivion. There is a sprint button. So everything you can sprint. So there are updates that make it seem more like a modern day or contemporary RPG. So that's very awesome.
It's a major quality of life.
So
updates.
Major quality of life updates. New dialogue has been recorded. There is new cutscenes or action sequences, new kill scenes. I mean, all sorts of upgrades. So, I mean, it's not just your grandma's Oblivion, right? Yeah. It's Oblivion for the future here. And I for one am here for it. Now it is, of course, Bethesda is, the IP owner or whatever, but I think it's Virtuoso Games. Virtuoso, yeah, is doing the remake. So they've done, I think they did a Dark Souls remaster as well a few years ago. So
it was Demon Souls.
That's right. So I mean, they're in the remaster game, and by all accounts, from everything I've seen, it does. It looks awesome. I'm kind of excited to play it. And it's kind of an interesting aspect to think about because most people, I feel like, who played Skyrim are actually probably, well, maybe not most people, but a lot of people who played Skyrim are a little bit younger than we are. So, like, Skyrim might be their only, like, because I played, y'all ain't ever probably heard of this one, but I played Morrowind back in the day. It was rough. So there might be a whole new generation of fans. It's not just for, old folks like us.
It's interesting too, because
to get into that nostalgia,
because it's not, Skyrim came out in 2011, but it's been re-released so many times and it's on like so many gamers' short list of games that you must play. And I feel like it has just, it's been played by more than just the generation, of gamers that was around during its release. Skyrim is still a massive game. Like, people are still putting in hours in Skyrim. I don't know how many people right now are watching it on Twitch. That'd be an interesting stat. I'm going to bring it up, actually.
Well, there's some mod packs for Skyrim that make it look baller, and there's been some crazy updates that So, I mean, even besides the Oblivion remaster, Skyrim has already been getting some modernizing love as well. Because at this point, Skyrim itself is a 14-year-old game.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's about to go into high school.
Yeah, exactly. It goes into high school this
So
year.
it's about to make some bad decisions.
Yeah, no, it has a little over 100 viewers or 400 viewers on Twitch right now, which that's nothing, essentially.
Yeah.
That could be one small-sized streamer, essentially, like bigger than us, obviously, but relatively small streamer. That said, a lot of the Skyrim community is probably playing Oblivion right this second, so it's probably not a very accurate measure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Obviously, we know the modding community has kept it like alive and well for a long time.
For sure.
But even outside of the modding, like the console community for it has been huge, even before they started bringing mods to console. So like it's just a juggernaut. It's like almost timeless in the last 14 years.
One of my employees at work is playing Skyrim for the first time right now.
Wow.
And is enjoying the crap out of it.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
So it's still enjoyed by everybody.
It's still enjoyed by everybody. So I honestly, this kind of a move is, I think, brilliant. But the word on the street is that Bethesda needs this to stay afloat until like their next AAA title comes out. Like,
which
I mean,
is understandable. I think that's because Starfield wasn't as big of a financial success as they were expecting.
Yeah.
I really think based on what they had to say about the game, they were expecting it to be a much bigger release than it ended up being.
Yeah.
Press was pretty negative for Starfield early. Like, there were obviously, they had a lot of pre-orders. They did have a lot of sales.
For sure.
But I think it was less than they anticipated, probably. Considering that they were talking about it like it was an actual game changer. Like, it was going to change the gaming industry forever.
Yeah.
When ultimately what we got is Skyrim in space.
Yep.
Which...
not bad.
That is a formula
sure.
that may work. Skyrim still sells like fucking gangbusters, as we were saying, but I think they were expecting a much larger splash, right? So it kind of makes sense that to give somebody else the IP, let them make a remake, and then kind of stand on those earnings for a little while, especially since they do make big games, whether you like them or not, which I'm in the camp of. I don't usually care for Bethesda RPGs. You can't deny that they are
huge. Well,
that they're huge games.
Bethesda RPGs have made up a huge part of my personal gaming experience, and they have a very special place in my heart. So I mean, I played a fair bit of Oblivion back in 2006 when it came out. Oh my god. But I mean, of course, the primary Bethesda RPG in my heart is always going to be Fallout. So when I see something like Oblivion getting this kind of a remake and love, and I want it to do well, because that makes me think that maybe New Vegas might get a similar update and
similar treatment
and similar treatment.
Maybe
if you could throw in some things that modernize New Vegas in like what seems to be a successful way here in Oblivion, gangbusters.
The thing is Bethesda may own the IP, but I'm sure there's probably a lot of legal barriers to be to go over, as far as, because it was made by Obsidian, right? They developed it.
Or even in that same vein, taking something that, because they own the IP for now, maybe taking like the first Fallout game and giving it this kind of an update treatment.
See, that's personally what I would do. That would be cool.
to me, because that almost seems like it would be like a new game. Obviously,
That's the thing, is it is a new game.
It'd be a full new game, and that's
either you put Bethesda in charge of that, or you have a third party company do it. And because the game wasn't a third person action RPG like what they are using now, I don't know that you can just do that without either enlisting somebody else to do it.
I think you would need to enlist somebody else. So you'd have to enlist something like Virtuoso, or maybe like they did with Obsidian back in the day. And then you just give them access to 76 models and stuff like that. And I mean, you just start porting, like you can kind of do that and just make this. Because it would be cool to play an updated Fallout 1 or 2. It
accelerates the timeline in which it can be made, but do you trust Virtuoso to essentially make a new game? Like, they can take the story beats and stuff, but you are essentially making a new game, because Fallout 1 existed as a top-down RPG.
Yeah.
So there would be some translation that you'd have to really trust like somebody like Virtuoso to do that.
Yes. And then like even the style of how the games were played would be very, very different.
It would be very different. I mean, it's really hard to capture because even modern Bethesda games don't do that. They don't capture how gritty the first couple Fallouts were, right?
And that's like when Bethesda took it over, that was the primary complaint.
Yeah.
But I mean, circling back into the Oblivion Remaster idea, I mean, it's not an idea, it's happened. I really hope it is successful, because I do think it opens the door to some of these games in that 2006 to 2012 era that were, I mean, maybe pushing boundaries at that time, but I mean, there's so many cool games like Shadow of the Colossus, Oblivion. Like,
that's the thing, though, is like, so you're kind of going into what I was going to talk about.
Okay, well, tonight. I mean, like
almost exactly.
Okay.
Like you're bringing up games that I literally want to talk about. So like, I have less of a story and more of a conversation piece.
Okay, yeah,
that involves everything that you have talked about in every game that you've talked about already, especially Shadow of the Colossus and like The Last of Us. Is right now, it really feels like AAA games are just remakes and remasters.
Yeah.
Like, even you could argue that Modern Warfare 3, the new one, is a new game, but it's actually based on an old platform, and it's just kind of revitalizing and bringing back the nostalgia of the older part of the franchise.
I don't honestly think it's fair to call Modern Warfare's new games. I mean,
sure,
every year it comes out. Like, there might be a couple of new features, but it's I'm sorry, it's not a new game. It's the same mechanic, it's the same, and like that's fine, but every game's a remaster for Modern Warfare. You know, like, hey, graphics are a little better, got a few new functions, UI's a little better, UX is a little better. That's a remaster. That's like they just remaster it every year, you know.
But my point is that we have a lot of new games that just aren't getting the AAA excitement. Right, I think the zeitgeist in the AAA sphere right now is almost exclusively remakes, remasters, and new takes on old IP.
Yeah, that's the safe bet, right? It's like, hey, what was successful?
We're seeing what kind of happened with the movie industry. It's all sequels and remakes happening in the gaming industry and playing off nostalgia, right? It's really interesting because what kind of sparked this idea here was we're seeing a pivot, I think, a little bit in the games industry. I think what we have been talking about for a little while, some of the larger games industries and some of the money people, which is important here, have seen the importance of indie gaming in recent months. So if you look at Oblivion as keeping Bethesda afloat for the time being monetarily, having some sales while they're working on things like the next Fallout and especially the next Elder Scrolls game. I think there's going to be large gaming companies reaching out to much smaller developers, and I'm talking indie developers. I'm talking small teams in order to fund their projects and make a % off of that. And we kind of talked about that a little bit on the last podcast. You brought up the guy from CD Projekt that's starting his own financing company, essentially, his own investment company. Well, what's big in the news today is there's a new company called Blue Ocean Games that is going to be having a contest for indie game developers of small teams, and there's rules to it, so it has to be like an actual small team. And they are wanting to fund indie games. So they're doing something called Rising Tide. It's a concept trailer competition designed to discover and spotlight innovative indie game ideas. Participants do not need a playable version of the game, but rather submit early in-game gameplay footage. And Rising Tide is open to indie developers worldwide, any level of development background, and all major platforms: PC, mobile, VR, and web. Going into a little bit about them. So they address what we have been talking about kind of at length on our podcast, is today indie developers have limited options for securing funding at the concept stage, which we literally talked about on our last show. Investors, having experienced losses in this high-risk arena, often lean toward backing established games that can replicate past successes, i.e. remakes, remasters,
literally what we just said.
Going back to previous IP, right? The safe bets. This conservative approach sidelines highly experimental projects and unconventional teams, resulting in fewer groundbreaking gaming experiences for players. So if you think about some of the biggest selling games, let's take consoles, for example. Some of the best selling games on any of the platforms have been Skyrim. Like, let's take PlayStation, for example. There has been an update to Skyrim for every PlayStation console since the PlayStation 3. There's been an update to The Last of Us for every console generation since the PlayStation 3. There has been an update to Shadow of the Colossus for every PlayStation generation since the PS2.
Wow.
Now, I respect and love all of those games for what it's worth. I do. But they are some of the best-selling titles on the platforms. Like, they are serious moneymakers. Now, those are all good games, and they were game changers in their own right. Like, The Last of Us didn't do anything necessarily new, but it did it really extremely well. Shadow of the Colossus, you could argue, did something pretty fucking new. Skyrim didn't do anything new, but again, did it really, really well. Because there's very little in Skyrim that isn't in Oblivion.
Exactly.
Right? It's almost iterative like a Call of Duty, except for they did better. They didn't just sprinkle some stuff on it and call it a day. They went far and beyond and added a lot of new features that were specific to Skyrim that have gone really appreciated for a really long time.
And are now going to be in Oblivion.
Right.
Full circle.
Full circle. So yeah, while you have seen innovation in that space, and that's why some of these games are being remade and remastered. One of the games that I talk about the most in like the last couple of years is Final Fantasy VII Remake and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. These are not new games. While they are remakes, not remasters, and they do bring a lot of new stuff, the story is the same story that was told in 1997, give or take a little bit. Like, they are doing some refreshing. But
overall, it's called Final Fantasy Remake, right? Final Fantasy VII Remake. Yes. It's not called Final Fantasy 17 or whatever, right? It's not new. Right.
And talk about comfort, right?
Yeah.
We are looking toward to Final Fantasy 17, right? 16 came out just a couple years ago. Final Fantasy 17 is going to be the next big major blockbuster release from Square Enix. So, it's just interesting seeing that while that is still happening, and maybe even more so than it used to, we're getting fewer new IP.
Yeah.
We have some serious money being now put into the indies industry, because I think these studios that are facing these major challenges like cost, time, now tariffs, are kind of realizing like, we have to have something in between. We put out a new game every 6 years and it sells like fucking gangbusters, but what are we doing in between? And I think we're going to start seeing these major players in the industry start doing some of this funding.
Well, that's all well and good, but the money people is why we don't have new and refreshing IPs.
Right.
Like, so,
here's the thing is if they are legitimately looking like Blue Ocean a Blue Ocean game seems like legitimately a good organization based on what they have to say. The proof will be in the pudding eventually, right? But based on what they have to say is their vision for a solution is a successful ecosystem must meet the needs of all three stakeholders. Developers, empower them with creative freedom and resources to innovate. So just give them money to put their idea in action.
Mm-hmm.
Players, offer experiences that are fresh and uniquely satisfying, something that they won't find in AAA games. They are doing this in response to the stagnation that's happening in AAA titles.
Yeah, because
right? And for investors, deliver returns that justify the level of risk and opportunity cost. Because at the end of the day, nobody makes a video game to lose money on.
No.
Like, they cost money. You need your hope is to make money on them.
Yeah,
and
even someone's passion project, they're hoping it's going to be like, man, maybe I can retire on this. Like
100%.
You know, I'm having fun making it, but that's the goal.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah,
as small content creators.
Exactly. We're having fun making this, but wouldn't it be wonderful if suddenly EA signed a check to me?
Right.
You know, like
we got our first sponsor.
Or IGN was suddenly sending me checks. That would be amazing.
And finally we were in the black instead of the red. So that would be great. That would be ideal. So everybody is in this for the money, at least in some capacity.
Aspect, right? Even if it's a pie in the sky hope, right? You know?
My thoughts is if they truly are investing in unique ideas that don't happen in the AAA industry, and all they're doing is giving the money and they have no influence. So they don't plan on, like, this is your idea and we would just like to put money at it and then it's hands off. If that's the case, I think nothing but good comes from that. Potentially.
Yeah, potentially.
There's aspects of it that maybe I don't see, of course.
Sure.
I am of the opinion that sometimes throwing more money at something is actually detrimental also. I think having too much in the coffers brings to laziness and a lack of innovation. I think a lot of innovation comes from squeezing as much juice as you can out of what little you have in some cases. So I'm definitely of that opinion sometimes.
Yeah, I agree. But from what it looks like here is that it's going to be so $100K to Obsidian or Virtuoso, right?
Yeah.
Even these smaller studios, $100K, they wouldn't even notice if that went missing.
Yeah.
Whereas $100K to a 4-person team, good God, that's paying rent for 6 months. That's that's time, actual time to devote to your game and to it. And $100K to investors, again, it's not a thing that you're going to miss. Like, they're not even going to, and if the game winds up, if you get your ROI as $1 million off of $100K, then I could see them being a hands-off kind of scenario. And that's where, honestly, the most return is going to happen is in that smaller investment, like we're talking about with these small teams. 100K means a great deal to 4 people or 10 people, a 10-person team.
That could mean the difference between the game not happening and the game happening.
Yeah.
All they're asking for is concept trailers here. So you need to put forward some work, right? You can't just have an idea.
Yeah, there needs to be some substance to it.
Something to it. They need to know that you have some kind of developer background or that you have something in the works. So it's more than proof of concept. You need to have proven some of your concept. So that's great. It means that they're not just throwing money at vaporware, right? That's what the nature of the competition is for. At the end of the day, if you are an indie games developer and you are just looking for some seeding, some funding, all you have to do is go to blueoceangames.com, create an account, upload a video. So upload a gameplay video as a public unlisted YouTube video. There's additional trailer rules that you need to read in their rules section. You complete a form. You submit the game to Rising Tide Challenge, and then as long as you submit it by the deadline, which is May 1st,
May Day.
Yes, which is May 1st, then you are eligible to win. What you can win, it varies quite a bit but it's anywhere between $10,000 and $300,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So you might be thinking, okay, what does that mean as far as like who gets chosen? Well, first there's the public vote. They're going to have up to 20 winners. So this is potentially 20 unique games being made from this situation here. There's a public vote. During the voting period, gamers will be shown 2 videos at a time on this page in a head-to-head matchup. The results will be aggregated in an ELO scoring ranking. Top 10 will be selected as winners, with the highest score being awarded to People's Choice Prize. On top of that, there's judges' pick. Guest judges and Blue Ocean game judges will select up to 10 additional winners. The prizes will be the same as those who win the public vote. So everybody's getting the same prize pool.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah, man, I think there's a lot of cool opportunity. And this popping up just weeks after we talked about the gentleman, I can't remember his name for the life of me because it was hard to pronounce in the first place, from CD Projekt Red that's making his own funding company with blackjack and hookers, because you can't say those words without that. It is interesting because there are obviously people higher up in the industry that are seeing like, we need to see a change.
And we were talking about that a couple of weeks ago, and now we're really starting to see an actual economic shift that way.
Yeah, for sure. And it's really nice. Maybe this will maybe we'll get another big boom in indie games, because what I hope for is just to see another Xbox Live Arcade happen, right?
Oh man,
the Steam Greenlight happen. Xbox Live Arcade was some huge
banger games, dude.
And it was huge for indie games. The barrier to entry was minimal. You could make it on relatively cheap hardware. You didn't have to buy Xbox dev kits. You could, though. You still had the option. Xbox was more than willing to send you a dev kit for free as long as you were able to show them proof of concept of your game. So
yeah, it was the Wild West of gaming.
It kind of was. And I'm really hoping we get something like that again, where we can really kind of empower indie devs in making these things, because we're getting to the point where like we need almost another separation, because like looking at it now, you can have AAA indie titles. It feels like the games they're doing right now, the best on Steam are fucking Repo and what's the other one? Schedule One. I don't know if you've heard of those games. Those are selling like fucking gangbusters. I work with a shitload of gamers and younger gamers at that. Yeah. And dude, they are all about Schedule One. Every single one of them is either playing Repo or Schedule One. Schedule One, you're a drug dealer.
Yeah, I was going to say that one has to be about drugs.
Yeah, you make your way up through the game, through the ranks of it's almost like Grand Theft Auto, but simplified in that it's like, it really is just about
dealing drugs.
Well, not even just dealing, also the manufacture of and stuff like that. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And then there's Repo. It's essentially a new take on Phasmophobia.
Okay.
But it's kind of cutesy in a weird way. And yeah, that's taken off like crazy too. But from small teams.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
Phasmophobia went off like gangbusters.
Yeah, it hit fucking hard.
And that wasn't from a huge team, right?
No.
You know, so it's games like that where, can you imagine if that Phasmophobia team got a cash infusion of $300K with like...
Right. If they had gotten a cash infusion a little bit early on, we wouldn't have had like 4 revisions of like 4 redos of Phasmophobia by now. Maybe we would have just gotten the game and everybody would still be having fun with it.
Exactly.
Instead of, you know what, I don't know if I'm going to play it. Maybe I'll just wait till the next update. Or in the case of Valheim, the same thing we would do with that every time.
Yeah, where
is we pick it up, we get nearly to where we were last time, and then we put it down for a little while because there's new content coming. Well, not only that, not just running out of content. It's like there's a new content announcement. Oh, and it's coming out in like 6 weeks. So we should just wait until then.
Yeah, because we're
and we just pick it up too late. Same thing with Nick and I, specifically in Satisfactory. We pick it up again every time there's a big ass content drop, and then we never finish it. We never finish it. And it's because we have effectively played the game like 4 or 5 times now in its previous entirety, right? So, and I'm totally cool with indie games doing early access. Whatever they have to do to fund their game so they can make what they envisioned in the first place, that's great. It's my fault that I play them the way I do in jumping in them too early and then doing that weird content jump.
Well, and maybe they don't have to do such a huge thing like that if they can get some of these cash infusions.
If you can just have the cash on hand to do what you need to do. If you don't need to keep your 9 to 5 while you're still working on it.
I'm thinking of the World War I game that had diesel mechs. I'm thinking of a team like that. I'm thinking of like that was an interesting take on, it's like you're dropping into a battle royale. It's World War I tech, diesel powered mechs. That's crazy. It's awesome. So I definitely want to see some money being dumped into the innovative side of games.
That's I think when you boil it down, that's my point. Is all the innovation we're seeing is in the indie game space.
Yeah. And
it's huge. Like we have AAA developers that are copying the indie game space.
And when we say innovation, we don't necessarily mean, flashes and bangs and tips and tricks and all of the new
bells and whistles.
All the new bells and whistles, but where the innovation is in gameplay and in story and in types of games, right?
Yeah.
Like they've created
we've gotten many new genres.
Survivors, entire new genres of games because 3 dudes who needed to make rent money for the next 6 months were like, we got to do something with this.
That was one dude. Yeah, Vampire Survivors was one guy.
One guy just trying to make a little extra money. He's like, fuck, I took coding in college. I got to do something with it. Here we go.
Stardew Valley, one guy.
And so getting a team like that to have, that sort of cash infusion, it has to be, overall, I feel like it has to be a good thing. But then again, it's the AAA space used to be innovative until people realized, video games can make not millions of dollars, but billions of dollars. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so I do worry about that a little bit with the indie space.
Sure. But so they bring up a good point. This is still reading from their website, but they bring up a good point is why we need a new approach to indie game funding. And their answer to that is today concept stage funding. So the earliest stage of funding in indie games is virtually non-existent. And that's true. It's not like the movie industry where you can go in with a script and an idea and find funding. Yeah. You really can't do that, especially with the huge influx of people that want to get into this industry.
There's no Reese Witherspoon to help you.
Right.
There's no Reese Witherspoon to option your game here.
Yeah. You don't have, like you do in the rest of the tech industry, all these angel investors that are just willing to put their money into stuff willy-nilly, hoping that it gets off the ground. You just don't have that. You have that in very rare instances, but most of the time when you're making a small business and when you're making an indie game or when you are on your own and you don't have connections in an industry,
tough.
It's really hard to find seed money. Most of the time, if you're building a small business, you have to go to family, friends, and mom and dad. Or if you're making an indie game, the guy that made Stardew Valley, his wife supported him for years while he developed that game solo. And there were many times where he had to drop it for a while because they just weren't making ends meet the way they thought they would, right? Or some expenses came up. We almost didn't get Stardew Valley just due to a little bit of funding, the need for a little bit of funding.
that seems like it should almost not quite criminal, but it should be frowned on heavily that was even a chance.
Yeah,
you know,
right?
Come on.
So I think this is a really good opportunity for not only that, but it's voted on. So it's not like these guys are just picking stuff willy nilly that kind of fits their style and wheelhouse, but actual gamers and people are voting on what they think is the best and the most innovative.
And I do like that aspect, that it wasn't just this company and its judges, that they're only picking half. So there is seemingly some real feedback. Like they're going to take the feedback from the community, and that's what's really important, especially in the indie industry, is the community's huge.
Yeah.
And so don't shit on it. You know? Fuck.
Yeah. Now, real quick, going back to Blue Ocean, we're almost done here. I feel like I'm rambling on, but some other good points is
Yeah.
they also have resources that you may not have as a new developer, or you may not even know exist.
Right.
Which is cool, because this is some industry vets doing this stuff. So essential developer resources, if you're new to making games, check out these essential resources to level up your development skills. That's one of the articles that they have built in on the website, is like, hey, we know you may not know where to go right now.
Yeah.
Here are those resources. Of tags and trends is one of their articles. Introducing the Steam Tag Surveyor dashboard. You can get a dashboard that allows you to see tags that are trending in Steam. So
that you can...
Right. Just like tags on YouTube. So you can make sure that you capitalize as much as possible. SEO is still important in video games.
Yeah.
You know, advertising is still important in video games. If nobody knows your game exists, even if it's the best game in the world, then nobody's going to play your game.
Who's going to play it?
Right. And starting from zero and making a game and getting it out there and getting into hands and then growing a community around it is already hard enough. It's like a near impossible task. Most people do not make it.
I was gonna say, like you said, in the concept phase, there's almost zero funding.
Right.
So this seems like it's filling a niche, and there's nothing wrong with making some money and filling a niche. It's just when money becomes the only thing. But yeah.
But we're funding passionate people making passionate projects, and I'm all for it. I think more of this thing would be really nice. I'd hate to see the indie gaming industry get oversaturated with vultures. That's my main worry, is that you have people that are preying on people that have dreams. So that's
they're like, God forbid.
Right. but to know that maybe you have a resource out there that's willing to back you up monetarily and give you some of the resources you need to grow, and you have a genuinely good idea that would, make waves.
Be nice if there's some a little pocketbook money to go with it.
Yeah.